Hi, everybody. My name is Troy Luccketta, and I play with Risen the Believers, and you are watching and listening to Nashville on the Rocks.
Hey, Lisa Carcos here, and I'm beyond excited to introduce our next guest on Nashville on the Rocks. This talented drummer and studio owner has been taking the downtown Nashville scene by storm, playing hundreds of shows a year and showcasing his incredible versatility by mastering genres from country to punk and everything in between. From his humble beginnings in central New York to studying percussion at the Eastman School of Music, our guest's musical journey has been nothing short of inspiring. With a degree in music from Hampshire College and a passion for exploring different cultures through percussion, our guest has truly made a name for himself in the music industry. From playing with top artists like Jason Michael Carroll, Hillbilly Casino, and Brian Setzer's Nashvillians, to touring across 4 continents and making multiple appearances at the Grand Ole Opry, this drummer's talent knows no bounds. And let's not forget his sense of humor and wit on social media, where his comedic videos featuring his infamous selfie stick have gained quite the following. So get ready to be inspired and entertained by one of our dearest friends, professional drummer Andrew Dickson. Oh my God. Andrew, thank you so much for making time to come on the podcast.
Oh, it's my pleasure. This is awesome. This is great.
I'm super excited to have you here. I'm so glad you can make it. This is actually a real treat for us because you're a good friend, and we have hung out several times over the course since I've moved to town. You've known Dan for a long time.
Indeed.
This is just really exciting to have you here. Yes, yeah. Thankfully. This is just super exciting.
I apologize, Andrew, if anything ever happened.
No. You guys have been a great influence. I'm gonna get into that. So
no, but this is just super great to have you here today because not only is there that connection, but you're also a fantastic musician too. You have so many great things to say about just being in the music industry, and the time that you've spent here in Nashville, the time that you've spent from Rochester. Andrew is from Rochester, New York, like Dan and myself. One of the many people that have come down here throughout the years. Some of the first of the friend group that has come down here from Rochester. So I think that's really exciting. I can't wait to get your take on both sides of that. And you're an incredible drummer too. You've played with so many different people, and you're a very current musician. You go to shows regularly all the time, and I just really value your input. So
oh shucks. No, that's great. Like it's I'm really flattered to be here. It's just cool. You know what I mean? Like
that's awesome.
As me and DA go back so far, and he's been such a gigantic influence on me and my friends growing up here. So it's really I just think our whole situation of how things were with us in the 90s, and then coming and then all living here now, I just think it's so special and so cool and very unique.
Yes.
So this is just awesome.
Yeah,
absolutely.
we got the Rochester connection, man, and like we do go back a long ways, man.
Oh, yeah.
And when you say influence, man, and like how they have that cliche thing where you say all good influences, I hope, you know what I'm saying? Hopefully, man, you know what I'm saying? But it's always been cool knowing you, man, and just knowing that you right out of high school, I think we were playing together. So let me just end it like that, though, and I'll let Lisa take over.
Because then we're going to go in. I'm going to dive in a little bit. Okay, totally. So I should say that you're from the Rochester area. You're from Geneva.
I'm from Geneva, but I went to high school in Rochester.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. See, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Learning new things.
Yeah.
All the time.
It's a little bit of my band with Sean and Dan and Todd, who our guitar player in our band recently passed away. I don't know if you heard about that, and so that's sad.
Yeah.
So, R.I.P. to Todd Prani and his family, and condolences, man, from Nashville on the Rocks and us three here.
Going kind of to the beginning, so that you're from Geneva, you went to school in Rochester. I just kind of want to dive a little bit back into your background. So you're from there. Does your family still live there now? Just out of curiosity.
My mom passed away in 2005, but my dad is still there.
Okay, your dad's still there, so you probably get a chance to go back every so often. I'm always curious about that. Okay, so when you grew up in Rochester, did you come from a musical family?
Nope. I'm the only artist in my family.
Really?
Yeah. My sister does a lot of creative writing with her job.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But as far as our influences in growing up, no, I was the only, even in our extended, Karen's side of the family, my wife, Karen, her side of the family too. I'm the only artist. You know what I mean? Nobody even paints or
That's
like
crazy.
does, or you know, like it's just
or draws or
there's
plays violin or something.
nobody has a little creative endeavor. I'm at least off the top of my head, I'm the only one who kind of got that bug. And
you're the main focus.
but it was cool. Like I'll tell you, my family and our families of our band, when we were growing up, we were first meeting the Farleys and the Carcoses. Could not have been more supportive. They were so supportive, great. And that was a really big deal. Like to kind of start early on, I started playing drums in 4th grade, but then I would Def Leppard's Hysteria record was the game changer for me. I was a game changer, and I still love that record so much.
Gosh.
And it just opened, just got me really into rock and roll, and that's when I started playing drums. And I got my first drum set in I believe it was maybe late 5th grade, early 6th grade. Before that, I was just playing like the school band. And then by 7th grade, late 6th grade, 7th grade, I was jamming with Dan Smith, with Sean.
Oh my God.
I think Todd came around there, and then Wesley Greco, who I'm making music with still now, years and years later, played in the band for a little bit. Jay Gelati, all these guys that we all knew and were all around. And I'm sorry if somebody's not going to, just how it is. But
no, we're going to throw some pictures of all these dudes just rattled off, man, because we love all those guys too, and we know them.
Yeah, totally.
Playing with Sean and Danny that long.
Yeah, and we moved to Nashville together and everything. It's really, really cool. Like one thing that's awesome when I look back on Central New York in that time period, and hopefully it's still the same now. Like I said, I've been here since '99. There was such a creative energy there that was undeniable. Yeah. Especially with Rochester being the center, but also with Syracuse, with the Lost Horizon, with the Penny Arcade, with WCMF, with Homegrown, with WBER, with even cool things that weren't involved with music, like the Little, like the theater and Eastman School of Music. Massively, like all these things just create, like were very supportive, and you were really able to learn a lot and really be all around all these cool kind of amenities from being in that area. And it was really, really awesome. And then the people too, we kind of all just gravitated towards each other. And we just had a cool scene that was really all about the music.
Yep.
Like it was funny. Like one thing that was kind of funny is I was talking with a friend of mine, and he was talking about I play a lot of punk rock, and I was out I was out talking to another friend of mine in that's his background also, and he I go, yeah, when I was growing up, we had this really cool scene. We're all about the music, and we all were just trying to get better and dial things in. And he was like, and we looked up to people, like we really looked up to the Carcoses and the Farleys. But he was like, man, it wasn't like that. Everybody that I looked up to played music was just all about getting wasted. And I was like, and I was like, well, that's your experience. It's clearly not mine. Like one thing that was
was he good at it though?
Yeah, possibly. But it was just like that was completely not. Like the environment that we were around and the types of bands that we were, like one thing that I was thinking about that was so cool, man, is that you guys were just dialing in your craft so big time, and how you would really you'd be meticulous about your harmonies and all. We soaked all of that up, man. It was very, very cool to have that as a just kind of like being our mentors, dude, for lack of a better way to put it.
Dude, I really feel like when we met you guys, man, and I saw you guys totally blossom, man, and Sean and just Danny and the Smith brothers and all those guys.
Well, how old were you guys when this happened?
These guys were just either in high school
teenagers?
or coming out of high school, right?
Okay.
Yeah. There was a group of Kyle Harvey. I don't know if you remember. Kyle was on keyboards, and but we all really looked at them, and we just took. It was the Diamond Tier was the band that they were, and then One, but it was really One was the era that we were around. And another thing that was cool too, another story that I'm going to say right now is
shit.
I went to high school in Rochester. I went to the Harley School in Brighton.
Oh, okay.
But I grew up in Geneva. I started going there in 8th grade, and but my band, which was called Obscurity at first, but then Mental Picture, was in Geneva, and so I went back and forth. But we had a house right in Brighton, right by where Brighton High School was. It's like maybe 12 Corners, or I can't remember the name of.
Okay.
Right by Monroe Ave.
Okay.
So we one thing that was cool. This was so cool because when I was hanging out with the One dudes, like like it was, we not only did I like look up to them and learn a lot from them, but I also you just pick up things because they were older and like the band was so good. And one thing that was so cool, well, they also look like rockers, like they look like badasses, you know.
Babe's laughing over there.
Yeah, they look like, but it was cool. They looked so cool, but they were like, this was a really, really cool experience that, dude, you probably don't remember at all. But you guys were dropping me off at that house that I was living, and I was probably, I don't know, maybe junior, senior in high school, and you guys are looking like rock and rollers, man. You guys are looking cool, and I like looked like a dork. I like had like a mullet. I didn't quite get style until later, but it's one thing that was awesome is my mom pulled up in our Aerostar minivan, and it was I think I was thinking about it on a drive here. I think it was John, maybe it was Matt, but it could have been any of you guys. You guys immediately, like gentlemen, walked up and were very, very polite and introduced themselves to my mom and were very, very sweet, and it was so cool. You know what I mean? Like it was like, because also I was growing up at the time of MTV and everything, and you didn't really like.
Yeah, it wasn't cool to be with your mom at that time.
Yeah, and it also wasn't, and being a gentleman wasn't maybe like, you know, like you didn't really think of like Guns N' Roses as gentlemen.
No,
you know, like they were an amazing band, but like
they're
you don't
not
really
trying
think,
to talk to anybody's
you know, but
mom.
they were like, these guys were like so polite and just gentlemen to my mom, and it was really sweet. And my mom thought it was awesome, and it was like, it even kind of broke stereotypes a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like how it went, and it was that was a but I noticed that, like,
dude, we were trendsetters, man. Weren't we, man, with the politeness and shit?
But
dude, hold on, wait. Let me just interject. Dude, I remember, you remember Scott Dickson, man, like Lost Horizon.
Yeah.
Then he did other things. I remember one time he says, dude, listen, man. He's like, you guys are a rock band. He's like, you guys can't be so polite everywhere you go.
Yeah, you guys were like, raised right, man.
He's like, it's taking the zing out of you a little bit. That's what I can't remember how he said it though, but he was like, she was trying to be nice, but like, man, you guys.
That's what
you guys are too friendly, man.
You know what you do then?
But thank you, man. I appreciate you.
You know what you do then? You look at him and you go, all right, Scott, you take a shot of whiskey and then you spit right on the floor right next to him and be like, is that what you want to see?
Yeah, and you're at the Lost Horizon though, and so like you can't more gnarly up that place. I mean, you know what I mean? Like that was also that's a whole different. We played with you guys at the Lost Horizon. I was saying I brought a boombox and I recorded your show.
Oh my god!
I still got that cassette around somewhere too.
I kind of wanted to ask you, like, why drums?
It just, I initially, this is going to, I don't know, like I initially, to my memory, started playing, my parents told me I had to play an instrument. So I was just, what I had to do. So I joined the school band in the percussion department.
Wait a minute, your parents weren't musical. They wanted you to play an instrument?
No, but I wanted me to be well-rounded and all those kind of things.
Okay.
So that's commendable.
That's cute.
You know what
yes.
I mean? But I wanted to play the crash cymbals because it was the most obnoxious. A true story as much as I remember it, you know? But that was before I was still like, one thing that was also that really happened to me is I was a good athlete as a little kid. I really was good. I excelled at hockey and I excelled at baseball. I was really,
So you were well-rounded.
Yeah, but then once I discovered it, like it was funny because once I got into music, right, like the 6th, 7th grade, and my peer group started changing. Mm-hmm. And one thing that was also really true is that the musicians that I was gravitating towards more because I was just very inspired by the records I was getting into at the time and getting my first drum set. But the musicians were like, at least in my personal experience, were so much more inviting and nicer. You know what I mean? And so, and especially at that age, like it was kind of that also was another thing, like my peer group changing as far as just hanging out with musicians more than, I don't know about disparaging athletes. Everybody's their own individual. I'm not doing that at all.
No, we don't like athletes on this show.
Well, no, I'm not saying that at all. Like there's obviously great people that do all kinds of things. But but in my personal circumstance, like I would get, I would in other situations I would get kind of bullied, and then when I would hang out with musicians, like other guys were like Dan Smith and Eric Rapini in Geneva. I remember specifically me having a difficult time. Kind of, and then me having a jam session with them. When I looked up to them, they were, a few years older than me, and they were like really, told me to, they really gave me a healthy perspective on some things, which, and I found that important to be the case with a lot of musicians that I was around, and so that just kind of steered me in that direction as far as my social circle.
Is that so you started fostering this community? Is that when you started listening to like more punk music? Or did you always listen to punk music?
I initially got into metal and progressive metal and like stuff that's very challenging. But then also, like it was definitely. It was also the same time that happened with a lot of people. It was like when Nirvana broke and grunge broke, and then I discovered bands like Fugazi and Rancid and Green Day.
Yep.
You know, like those were, you know, all kinds of big ones early on. You know what I mean? That the stuff that really took off in like the early to mid '90s. You know, it kind of set a template for things.
Little trajectory took you in a different path.
Yeah. But then I went to then we had all the experience in high school, and then I studied. I went for a year at Nazareth College because I initially thought I was going to go to school to become a special education teacher, like my mom.
Okay.
But then and stay in Rochester and keep on playing in bands there. But then I ended up kind of just learning some things, and then I ended up going to school. I ended up going to Hampshire College in Amherst, Massachusetts, which was kind of like I designed my own major. It's kind of like a hippie school, for lack of a better explanation, but really, really awesome and perfect for me.
That's good.
And I was able to do. And I studied a lot of like ethnomusicology and jazz there, and I went to India. I studied percussion in India, and then. So that kind of like broadened my horizons. Then I moved to Nashville right after that.
That's awesome.
So,
oh my God.
Kind of all that kind of like stuff steamrolled. But it all started with being fans of the Carcoses and the Farleys. You know what I mean? Like I think that really can't be overstated. You know what I mean?
That.
Like the impact that they had on us and our circuit, and how it still completely has impacted us as adults. You know, like it was cool, like seeing people that were really honing in their craft. But the thing about the stories about being polite, being cordial, and just being good people, like really made an impact. It kind of, you know, because it just really showed it. Showed us it was all about the music.
I was gonna say you learned so much more about like, you know, life in that amount of time, and it kind of, you know, at that age, whatever you're getting into kind of helps form you.
Yeah,
so.
big time.
Yeah,
big time. And so when you have good role models, which is exactly what it was. That is, I think, makes that you just shows you a side of music that you don't really see on MTV.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or you didn't really, you know what I mean? Like you didn't really see, that it wasn't like, whereas about people that took it seriously, that were into the crafts, and were professional, polite people.
Sure.
You know what, man? That's probably the ultimate compliment, man, as far as like you including me into that type of thing. And but we felt the same way about you guys, man. And we just thought, like, well, look at these fucking talented kids, man. And like,
shucks,
this is fucking great. And you know what? As far as being fans, man, like we were fans of you guys, and we were myself, you know, being in a band with the Farley brothers. I was always fans of those guys before they were
good
in our band. You know what I'm saying? Like Matt, you know how incredible
John and St. Chaos,
yeah,
man.
dude, St. Chaos and Teddy from St. Chaos, just fucking killer. Just
man, Bob Gallo on the drums.
Yeah, man. They had some God song, man. Is like probably our favorite song, maybe.
Dude.
I don't know.
I just heard that he showed me that recently.
And I want to say a shout out to Teddy, man.
Oh yeah,
Teddy, man. Like he had the real shit, man. Like back then, man, he was
had
just
the pipes. And then he was in Groovy Seeds with Al McManus.
Yep. That's how we know. That's how we know Al.
Shouts out to Al.
Sorry, babe. I feel like we're in an inside joke.
Are you kidding me?
And
I
you
love
weren't
this.
there, you know. But
I know. Listen, I know both of you, and I've heard some of these stories before. And Dan, you've actually just shared some of this music with me recently, so I'm all good. I know who Al is. I know everything. I've even seen P Spot. That's what he is now.
Totally,
like,
totally. Like it's kind of the kind of like, if that's what I'm.
And that was
really,
like 15 years ago that I saw him. Maybe 20 for the first time.
And this is going to sound melodramatic, but what I cherish about that is how I really think that our environment and where we were around growing up was very, very unique and very special.
Yes.
I think that I don't think that when I talk to a lot of other musicians that are like my age now, some I'm sure had similar type of experiences, but I really think it was unique. And I think, and then gravitating towards here, to being here in Nashville, it's just a beautiful extension of that. You know, I think that's a very, I think that's just something that's just, I really think is very, very cool. You know, that
very
like,
cool.
Agreed.
You know, it's about how we had that positive, inspired environment, and then actually it's just morphed to being here in a lot of ways. You know, and now we're all older, and it's but we still hang out the same. You know, it's really cool. You know,
definitely.
What was your first album?
The first show that I saw, my parents used to also always, check this out, I'm going to name drop. My parents used to always take me one show a year when I was a really little kid to the amphitheater at FLCC.
Okay.
CMAC.
That's
but
so
it was
funny.
called something else back then. So even back in the day, I saw Mike and the Mechanics, I saw Duran Duran. I saw a huge regret that I have is when I was a little kid, I went and saw Diana Ross and she at CMAC, and she invited all the little kids to come up on the stage and be on stage with Diana Ross, and I didn't do it because I was scared.
Because you would never have
So
found your
I passed
parents.
up that opportunity to literally be on stage with Diana Ross.
Dude, know what happened?
I was like 7.
Dude, I thought like maybe if it happened when you were older, man, you would get up there anyways and be like, "Aren't you a little bit too old to be up here?"
No, I was like, our security would stop, to be weird, go viral, But I can't believe. But so I would go see those kind of things. But the game, like I say, the game changer for me was Hysteria, big time.
Yeah,
that was
absolutely.
the one that changed that really got me so excited about rock and roll. Everything about it just resonated with me. It just was like I just got it so well.
Great record.
Oh, it's awesome. It's just awesome. It's iconic.
I think when Tony Harnell was here, I think that he said at that time when that record came out, he was working at a music store, and it was like every record that he was grabbing off the shelf was Thriller and Hysteria.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty huge.
And
Totally.
I was thinking, I'm like, that's kind of interesting.
Totally.
That's
Totally.
great.
Well, something that just kind of occurred to me real quick, and I won't belabor the point, though, even though I do think it is cool, is that a lot of times, like with the way that we grew up, and I can't speak for anybody else, but one thing that is definitely true of creative people, a lot of times they can be loners. You know what I mean? Like a lot of times, like they you know what I mean? But even growing up as being kids, as far as the community and the group of people that we're talking about in Geneva and in Rochester, and with all the different bands and the people that we looked up to, I was definitely not alone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When it came towards just me getting involved in my art, and just what I love to do, a lot of people are some people are kind of just through the ways that it is with people's environments are kind of, if they're creative and they're kind of pulled in that way, can sometimes you not really have a be community. And we had a big, strong community. That was really, really cool. Really, really cool, and it was, in so many different ways, you know what I mean? And also one thing that was great too is that, and I know that DA could vouch for this also, but we really learned to DIY and to do things ourselves. Mm-hmm. We put on our own shows. We were little kids learning how to deal with money. We were little kids learning how to deal with adults, with sketchy adults, with like all these kind of, all these kind of lessons that set you up, which I've definitely have to do a lot as an adult, but you learn them when you're 14, 15,
absolutely.
and so it's you learn what it is to draw a crowd. Mm-hmm. You learn how it is to how to rehearse, get your songs together. We did that all. Our parents were very, very helpful, and they drove us around. They would drive us around on school nights.
Hey, dude, can I ask you one thing about promoting your own shows? Did you ever run in that mistake when you made your own flyers and then made copies of them and stuff like that, and put them on cars and stuff like that? Mm-hmm. Remember that? One time, just a little story, man. We made some flyers and shit, put them all over the cars, and we didn't have a date of when we were playing.
yeah, totally. So,
holy shit, man!
Yeah, was it in Rochester? So you just hope they get an interest and look it up in free time, man.
Dude, I remember.
Oh my God, I remember that.
Yeah.
Dude, I remember.
Sweet name drop right there. Free time.
Me and my brother were out in the Penny Arcade parking lot, and then we just got done flyering all the cars, and then we ran into somebody as we were finishing up, and he's like, "Oh, cool! Is this you guys?" We're like, "Yeah." And he goes, "When is this thing happening?"
Yeah. Hey, dude, you want to know that's funny. While I'm thinking of it, you want to know what's a funny story? It's my buddies, and you would have met them. You probably would remember, but they're just my buddies, man. My freaking great, great, great friends. My buddies Kimmett and Slider that I went to high school with. Is we would go to the Penny Arcade like a good amount. And my buddy Kimmett was joking with me just the other day about how we didn't know how to get there. I played there all the time, but it was on State Street. And what we would do is we would go to downtown Rochester and just drive around until we found State Street. Like we didn't because we didn't know.
Well, you're not talking about the arcade, man. The The arcade was on Lake Avenue.
Lake Avenue. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You're right. Lake Avenue.
Right.
I'm sorry. You're right. I stand corrected.
Oh
Lake
my
Avenue.
God.
We would drive around until we found Lake Avenue, and then we would just hightail it out to the water. But the Penny, that's another place too. The Penny Arcade and the Lost Horizon to a little bit of a lesser extent, but the Penny Arcade, man, we just learned that was music school.
I wonder,
for us. Like, and you guys, man, not only would let us be on bills, but also helped us out with getting on rotation there. Like we were playing
cool.
there, like as high school kids, probably once every 2 months.
Is it
We'd have a
still
show there.
open?
No, they close it down.
Okay.
You know, and the spot is still there. I think it's maybe a restaurant now. I went by it maybe a decade ago.
It was like a
Interesting.
sports club, right, Lisa?
Yeah.
Though I think.
No,
wasn't it?
are you talking about? I was talking about Lost Horizon.
Oh.
Oh,
Penny,
Lost Horizon
the-
is still there.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. I was like, 'cause
And-
that sounds familiar. No, the Penny Arcade is a sports bar.
And we gotta
Yeah.
mention, if we're gonna mention Lost Horizon, I just want to say a shout out to a good friend of mine, Scott Dickson.
Totally.
He's always been supportive of us, man, and we just always loved Scott. And I haven't seen him in a while. I just want to say hey.
Yeah.
All right.
Totally. There's all these just so cool. And like I said, there was just like such a the whole environment. The whole thing was very vibrant.
No,
You know,
I-
it had great energy. You know, and I don't
love
think
that.
that's like rose-colored glasses. That's really how it was. When I look back on things, I see how hard we worked.
Yeah.
At our bands. You know, and it's you don't do that unless you're enjoying it. You know, and so it's I really don't think I'm like. You know, but I'm just very fond, and I consider myself very fortunate to be to have kind of discovered music and be around the people that I was to have it kind of guide my life.
When you moved down to Nashville, you came here with Danny and Sean
Yeah, and our buddy Joey.
and your buddy Joey.
Mm-hmm.
And was this the first band that you were in?
No, we went through a bunch of different formations, and
Okay.
I went off to school. Like we had a bunch of different things, but it was a lot of the core same group of people.
Okay.
We played a bunch of covers at what points. We had original and. So we had just a bunch of different, you know how it is with bands over maybe 7 year, probably 8 year period.
Especially with like formative years.
Yeah.
Of like high school, college, post college, lots of changes happening.
Totally.
Getting with people, you know, maybe getting married or whatever, all those things. So why decide to come to Nashville?
Because we could afford it, and that is the only reason.
So where was the other choice?
It was either there, New York, or LA. We wanted to go and pursue our band,
Yep.
and we were a band called Second Generation of Blue at the time, and it was just we were 3-piece. Sean,
That's a
Danny,
cool
and I.
name.
Yeah, thanks. And we recorded our first demo before we moved it with Joe Mancini. Shouts out to Joe.
Joe
And,
Mancini,
oh, yeah.
Binghamton, New York,
Yeah.
man, the
He had a great
sunniest town in New York,
It's
right?
Yeah.
It's not sunny.
Yeah, it's not.
It's not. It's a lot of things,
being
but it's not
sarcastic.
sunny.
I remember being kind of rainy, but anyway, it doesn't matter. But it's but we so we recorded that demo and then we moved down here. And the thing that was good for some, it was the best decision ever. The thing that was great about that is that we knew we couldn't afford to live in New York or LA, and so Nashville was the only. I remember specifically, I was my third year of college. I'm on the phone with Sean. He's like, "Let's move to Nashville," because Sean's older sister Heather used to live in Bowling Green, Kentucky, so he's kind of familiar, sort of, with it. And but even at that time, Nashville did not have the reach. It was basically a country or CCM, contemporary Christian music.
Yeah.
But we just knew that music was made here. We had to go somewhere, and we literally, which is great because New York City or Los Angeles would have ate us alive.
Yeah,
You know,
I get
to
that.
coin a Matt Farley term, you know what I mean? Like that would have been way overwhelming. We wouldn't have been able to make it work there at either of those places because we're from a small town, and Nashville, especially at the time, but even now, was easy. You know, like we moved here and we got jobs, and then we would see people we knew out, and then you know what I mean? Like it wasn't, you know, that the city was, you know, smaller than it is now, but it was very the size, it wasn't too big. Which
Yeah,
would have
what
been
was it
overwhelming.
like then?
It was awesome. I mean, for we had a good time as our band. We had a band house in Donaldson.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, we all lived together, but it was great. We all, you know, like just developed relationships, and you know, I lived here, and then I moved here, and then within 2 weeks, I got a job at Davis Kidd Booksellers, and that's where I met Karen. You know,
Your lovely wife.
Yes, thank you. You know, I was just saying, I was saying our and now speaking our 20th anniversry is a week from Wednesday.
Oh, that's so
yeah,
cute.
yeah, she has my back.
Aw.
Yeah, oh yeah,
That's
I love that
awesome.
woman. No, it's like I another thing that I feel fortunate for, about every single day.
She's not. Is she from here?
No, she's from L.A. She's from Pomona.
Oh, and that's funny. She's from L.A. and she came here.
Yeah, but she went to college and she went to Abilene Christian University in Abilene, Texas, and then she wanted to work in the Christian music industry.
So no wonder she came here.
Yeah, so she came here, and then she got here a few months before I did, and then we just met, and then a few months later we started dating, and then we got married in 2004.
Okay.
And then in 2005 is actually, okay, make a long story short, is we were pursuing our band Second Generation of Blue. We were working hard. We were doing everything we could. We're promoting ourselves. We're doing everything we can. We're rehearsing. We're doing gigs. We're taking all different kind of gigs, but it just wasn't clicking. It just wasn't really like. We were like, it just wasn't clicking like how things happen. And then, and also in work with, people were doing different things for jobs and money's always tight. And then Sean got the gig playing bass for Billy Currington, the country singer. And it was a great gig for him to take it, and he had to take it. And so he did that. And so we stopped playing together as a band, but we still are best friends and work on all kinds of music.
People that are coming here from LA, New York, all the places, I still feel like they mold to Nashville. It's changing.
Yeah.
It's definitely changing, but I still feel like they mold to Nashville.
Yeah.
I don't feel like it's the other way around.
People here, and I'm not just saying this because it's gonna be on the internet. Like, people here are mad cool.
Yeah,
like
they really are.
Like it is, and I'm telling you, especially I'm really involved in the drumming community. I know hundreds of drummers. Like, I'm very involved in Loud Jams. Is a great thing about that. The Nashville Drummers Jam, Rare Hair. We have our drummers lunch, which is the first Wednesday of every month. I always try to go if I can.
How many people show up for that?
Anywhere between 10 and 70, depending on. But even I'm in the different the things awesome. on social media. I'm very involved in like the drumming community here too, and I'm telling you, 99% of what happens with people is incredibly supportive.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's not competitive in a way. Like I describe it too. It's also not. Whereas other music scenes, like the other bigger music cities, sometimes will have a certain kind of competitive streak to it. That I think here, if people do it, at least through my experience, it's really off-putting. Like if somebody rolls up being a musician here and they're like flexing, like they're all that or whatever, they look pretty foolish. You know what I mean? Because everybody lives it, and it looks fake, and it looks very contrived.
They're like, I've arrived, and people are like,
or when people are just like flashing their resume, that doesn't really happen that much because a lot of times those people just don't like it. You know what I mean? Like it's just off-putting, and
I think you picked that up with the vibe too.
Yeah. Big time. It's not the spirit of the way that things are. I mean, there is definitely an element of competition. Everybody wants to work. There is, there's opportunity. There's only a certain amount of opportunities for certain things. I'm not like you have to be good, and you are in sometimes roundabout ways competing against other people. But that's not the spirit of how people should walk through it. You know what I mean? It doesn't. It really is. It really just is not appealing to be around people that do that.
Well, leaving on that, I think that's the perfect place for us to pause for a second, because I think that we're going to get to the point of the show where I know you're familiar with that I teach my guests how to make a drink.
Let's do it.
And this is very fun for me. And here's the thing. You are driving. You're going to be driving a little bit of a distance, so we're going to choose to make a mocktail.
Mocktail sounds great.
But I'm going to teach you how to make one, so it's going to be good. So we're going to get all this set up, and we'll be right back.
Yeah, sounds great. Awesome.
Hi, I'm Rachel Rodriguez, and you are watching or listening to Nashville on the Rocks.
Okay, and we're back for our next segment where we're going to make a cocktail. But today we're going to make a mocktail for you. And then Dan and I are going to be indulging just a little bit. So we're
have at it.
We're going to do almost the same thing as you. We're just going to be using the Angel's Envy, this little 100 milliliter bottles of this rye, which I am such a fan of because it's a rye and they age it in Caribbean rum barrels.
Oh, yeah.
So it doesn't...
That does sound delicious.
It's good stuff.
And it doesn't really taste like the spiciness of a rye. It's very smooth. It's really nice. I think it's going to be really good. But we're going to put that to the side right now, and we're going to teach you how to build your cocktail. Okay, so if you want to go ahead now, I have this bad tendency of not bringing enough things that I need. So I was going to do like a spoon or something, but I forgot. So I'm just going to dump some of these strawberries
freestyle
in
it.
for you. Yeah, there we go. Okay, and my hands are washed. So what we're going to do is that. So you have that in yours. Do you know what this is?
That crushes.
Yes, it is a muddler.
Yes.
So yes, you are going to muddle some of these strawberries, and then Dan and I are going to do the same thing. We're just going to do a little bit. Okay, this is going to be fun. Well, you know what? Fuck it. I'll just put the rest of them in there. One left. Okay, so at this point...
Hey, where's that pointer stick, man? I think we might need that. Maybe, Andrew, if you
point... I got the pointer. My friend Kathy gave me this finger pointer.
Maybe you could help the audience and point to what she's doing.
Right, what I'm doing.
The strawberries just went right in there.
Right in there. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to put some of these bitters in.
Oh, that's from Acme.
This is from Acme. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of got lucky. I think this was the only one we have, and I have it, so sorry, Acme. So these are mango, pineapple, lemongrass, and peach.
I'm sorry, that pointer thing is killing me, dude. I love it.
All right, so what we're going to do is I'm going to drop, this thing smells so good. We're going to drop just...
What is it again?
So these are kind of like essence.
All right.
It's kind of like, it's not like a bitter, but it's like just a blend of like, I don't know. I'm not entirely sure what it is, to be honest with you, because I wasn't there when we had it.
Yeah.
So good. But you're going to take this.
Okay.
And you're going to drop like 4 to 5 little dashes. Little tiny dashes. Yeah, keep going. Yeah. Okay, that's good. Okay. Perfect. Now, after you've done that, do you smell that? Do you smell it?
That smells awesome.
I know.
That smells great.
I know. And I wish I knew what it was. I'm going to say I think it's like essence of oil, but it might be a bitter of some kind, but it doesn't really smell like
Do they sell that at the store?
No, it was actually made for a Grey Goose, pairing.
Yeah.
So, okay, what we're going to do now is take some of this simple syrup. This is not water. This is simple syrup. And we're going to pour just like a half ounce into the glass. Now, on this one side of the jigger, that's a full ounce. So if you pour half of that, it's going to be a half ounce. Obviously we don't want to pour too much because it'll be too sugary and we don't need to do all of that. But here we go. Yeah, that's perfect. Yep. Okay, now pour it in.
Good job. Good
job, Andrew. Next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna smash it. Okay, ready? Smash. I know. I can't help it. This is gonna bang the table a little bit, babe. I know how you have a problem with that.
Oh, that's right. That was in the
Whatever.
Chuck one. That was going on the
And I always forget because I have a tendency to like smush it down. Okay, so you're gonna.
For those watching too, the episode beforehand with Chuck was awesome. It was great. It really, really awesome.
I'm glad you
we
really
enjoyed
liked
that.
it. Okay, so we don't need like fruit mashing, just a little bit of smashing to get some of those oils out, and I think that'll be good. Okay, the next thing we're gonna do is take some ice.
What should I do with?
Oh, I'll take it. That's so nice of you. So kind. What we're gonna do is just put some ice into this glass. Like I said, my hands are clean, and you can put some ice in there for you. Now, we're gonna add a step, but Andrew's going to minus a step. Okay. So at this moment in time, what I'm going to do is take a little bit of the Angel's Envy. Okay. I'm wondering how this is going to be. I think it's going to be quite lovely.
Yeah, it even looks like it's going to be great.
I'm really simple when it comes down to like bourbons or rye or anything like that. Like I typically
babe,
just have them on the rocks. Or
Can I do
something.
the sound effects of you pouring that in there?
Sure.
Hold on, here we go.
You're lucky I caught it in time.
Here we go, right?
Yeah.
There it is.
There it is.
The magic of filmmaking.
Okay.
Dude, I finally get to use my talents.
Right. His very strong talents. Okay, I'm putting in a little bit more. I'm actually putting in like 3/4 of an ounce. Okay,
I like
so at this moment, what we're going to do is we're going to take this little spoon that we have, or this really rather large spoon, And then I'm just going to do a quick little stir on that because I already have some liquid in here. And then I'm going to top it off with a little bit of this tonic water. Just a smidge. I don't know how this is going to be, but I'm really digging the idea.
I'm very optimistic.
Yes, and then you are going to put that in yours.
Should I just finish it off?
Finish it off. And then you are going to stir yours as well.
So what do we call this drink, babe?
Oh, I think this should be a drink that Andrew can name.
What kind of drink
maybe
is
something
it?
rockabilly.
Putting him on the spot.
Oh, you know what? I didn't mean to. We could add this to anything. This could be like.
Well, if somebody
what about the
ordered
ra-cha-cha?
There you go.
Yeah.
See?
That's pretty catchy.
That
man.
is pretty catchy. And if you feel like it, put a little bit of a lemon peel
Yeah, I'll
in
take
it.
something with a little lemon peel in there.
Now this one's much prettier.
Oh, yeah.
We'll do that. Okay. And then I got a janky one in here, but that's just because I kind of ripped off the inside of the peel. There we go. Okay. So I think this is going to be excellent. Babe, I'm going to give you the one in this little Angel's Envy glass. There you go. I'll take
Thank
the
you.
wine glass.
So what do we call this, though? I mean, I know the name of the drink, though, but what is it?
Oh,
Is it a beer? It's not a beer, right?
no.
I know it's not a beer. So what is it?
It's just a rye cocktail.
Okay, it's a rye cocktail. Babe, I don't know these things.
Lord, a beer. Okay, here we go. Thank you so much
Cheers.
for coming on
Absolutely.
the show.
To you guys.
Cheers.
Yeah,
good
absolutely.
Stretch, guys. Good
Like I say, it
stretch.
is a real treat for me to be here. So I,
Likewise, man, we're so
not only
happy.
just for hanging out, but to kind of like, I don't know, to kind of reflect on all these kind of things. Really, I am thoroughly enjoying myself. So.
Well, hell yes. No, we love
Us
it.
too, man.
All right, let's take a sip. Let's see how it is.
Oh, that's delicious. Delicious, and it's refreshing.
It's got a little wang in it.
I'm a fan of
It's
this.
from a
Yeah,
movie.
that's awesome.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is good.
Yes.
Yep. So
Good job, babe.
It goes down great.
So if you do this around the house, this is the Mediterranean tonic water, which is one of my favorites. They have the Indian tree tonic water, and then they have the Mediterranean, and both of them are so good for completely different things, and they're my favorite. One's got a gold label, one's got a blue label. They don't sponsor us, but they should.
Yeah.
They should.
Hint,
Okay.
hint.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly.
So I think we should go through everything, but I want
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
use
go
this
point
this
it out.
time.
Point it out what
Okay,
it
so
is.
point it out. Okay, so this is the one San Alcohol. This is the one with the Angel's Envy rye, and then we have some awesome like little essential oil trinket bitter thingies, and then we have the Mediterranean tonic water, some strawberries, some ice, and a lemon peel. And that's it. That's the cocktail. This is called the Ra-Cha-Cha.
You know, we should have stirred these drinks with Andrew's pointer stick,
Pointer-
though. That would have been cool.
Like,
Oh,
Yeah.
Did it wash its finger?
Yeah,
Where's
that
finger
finger,
been?
that finger pointer is that like, you know what I mean? Like it actually, it's traveled with me. It's been all over. That finger pointer was recently in Vegas.
there you go.
Hey, dude, could you tell the
For the fish
audience?
show.
Could you tell the audience where you can get one of those?
You could. Well, my friend Kathy Wolf gave me this because I like to mess around on the internet. I really enjoy social media. You know, I really enjoy it. I try the best that I can to have it be to be a voice for good. You know what I mean?
Positive
Like
things.
I don't try to get into things that are. It's a bummer talking about.
It's like one of
things
those
that are
gifts you get when you leave the proctologist, whatever, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
you just give you one of these. you know
yeah,
what I
they
mean?
give you one of those, man. Yeah.
But yeah, so I got this. So I like to joke around on the internet, pointing things out, saying my point.
You get my point.
You know what I mean? So I'm definitely thankful to my friend Kathy. Shouts out to Kathy.
Oh.
We love Kathy for this.
Kathy, that's cool.
For sending me this finger pointer.
Yes.
So.
No, it makes us feel good. All right. Well, shout out to Kathy.
Yeah.
Say like you're in Nashville, you're making music, you meet your lovely wife. You're doing the drummers thing. So obviously you've been like, I know that you've been really involved in, you said the Nashville Drum Project. Is that it?
My buddy, Tom Hurst.
Tom Hurst.
Who is a dear
Tom.
friend, and your episode with him was awesome too. And actually, I've been friends with Tom for probably over a decade now, and there was still a bunch in that episode that I didn't know about him.
Oh,
you know what I mean? It's just like it was cool. It's
He's
awesome.
got so many things. He's got
fascinating.
so many things to say.
Yeah.
Like I love learning new things
Yes.
about people all the time.
Yes, and a stellar, graceful drummer.
Oh,
and
yes.
he's and I've been able to work with him on some things. So it's I think the world of him. So it's
so do we, man.
Yeah, for sure.
No, he's awesome. So he was in with our buddy David Parks too, who's also just the best.
We love David Parks.
Oh yeah, totally. They started the Nashville Drummers Jam, and they included me in that. And I always, even if I'm not playing, I always like to help. You know what I mean? I just like being around people. It's like the environment I like to be. I make friends, you know. And then as an extension of that, with Tom, I ended up being the drum coordinator for Loud Jams, which I really enjoy doing. And like it also kind of it kind of fits my personality a little bit because I'm pretty detail oriented about things that like. Things that I can focus on and those kind of things.
I understand.
And like if I can focus on something and if I'm into it, my parents also really taught me to budget my time wisely, and so that's something I think I'm kind of good at it. You know, so like I plan out. I live by my Google Calendar. I'm very
that's good.
I plan out things, but it's I think it's served me pretty good. So
I know Tom really values you and your help and how good you are at doing the Loud Jams thing.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. I really, really like it, and I get a kick. I love being at the shows. Like even if I'm not playing, I like helping out with the logistics. I like helping out with gear. It's I just get a kick out of it.
Sure.
I enjoy it, and it's and I see my friends. And that's one thing. Like also as far as being in a community, when you go out and there's 100 musicians, it's usually more than that, but like 100 musicians on a Loud Jam show, I'm at least buddies with 60% of them.
Yeah, that's awesome.
At least, you know what I mean? Like, and then and solid friends with a lot of people. You know what I mean? That are in that. So it's a great opportunity to see my friends. So it's.
And by the way, sorry to interrupt.
No, totally.
You killed it on the King Sex cover, man.
Oh, thanks.
Oh my God.
I was sweating, man.
That was so
Jerry's
good.
the GOAT. Jerry Gaskill. I ever heard
Shout
of him.
out to Jerry.
He's my favorite drummer of all time. And then I had to play that song, and it's I've obviously heard it a zillion times, but which is the case with King Sex. It's the case with some other bands too that come to mind, but King Sex in particular. I'm it's been, they are such a big band for me. I've heard those songs a bazillion times. When you have to sit down and learn it, it's a different situation.
Yeah.
When you actually have to like process it and perform it in front of a room full of people that know if you mess up. That's one thing that's great too, that about Loud Jams or Rare Hair or the Drummers Jam or Grunge Night or all these kind of different things. Soul Vibes, which I haven't played yet, but it's would be the same thing. But it's awesome. Is that you get up there and you play in front of people. It's you're in the hot seat so much. I've done those things. I don't know, over 30 times, guessing, and every time I'm nervous. Because like you get there and I'm it's just because you get up there, and even if it's a song that's like not that complicated or not that difficult, I'm still nervous every time I do it because you're up there and you're playing. And for those who don't know, these are like organized jams where the lineups of songs are done in advance, and you're usually playing with the band that sometimes doesn't even know each other. You get up on stage and you play in front of a room full of musicians.
Sure.
It's things that happen in Nashville. And when you and doing it, I appreciate though the fact that it's because I've learned. But before, when I would ever have those opportunities, it was usually early on, very, very early on in a new gig, or when I'm auditioning for something. And being in that kind of situation just has really trained me to be able to handle that kind of pressure better and to know myself more.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
The first one that I did, and it was so awesome of Tom and David to allow me, was the tribute to Stuart Copeland at the it was at Exit Inn, and it was and Matt Farley sang on it. Oh yeah, he did. And it was so we did a story. We did "Day Do Do Da Da Da," the Police song. You know what I mean? That is awesome. And that I've heard a zillion times. But I was so nervous before doing it. You know, and I'm around all these players that I look up to, and I was so nervous. And it's like definitely one of the most nervous I've ever been playing the drums. And it's because it's even different if you're playing a big show with like your band or with like a gig that you've been on a lot. You don't really get that nervous because it's like you're used to the material. You know everybody in the band. It's a different thing, whereas when you're just getting up there and doing this, like it's in full of a room full of great players, it's very, very nerve-wracking. And that was a significant first step into doing that. But even since doing that, like now, like when I played the one the other day, I was completely, when we, and that was a great Loud Jams anyway, and thanks again for your all's help with helping promote it, being a part of it, and
we had a
raising
blast.
the spirit of it. It was awesome.
I was so grateful that Tom wanted to revive that.
Oh, it was cool.
It was
and
a good
the
night.
venue too was great. Woolworth was awesome.
They were awesome.
And the production was awesome. And but I was sweating it. You know, and I, like I say, it was because that tune does have some curveballs in that I've heard a million times, but when you have to play it, it's different. And I was sweating it, and then I go up and I play it, and then I had my licks that I wanted to do, and like I'm and then I get done, and like I'm so relieved when I'm done, And there's been times when I've been up there and I've made like some small errors, but I've never really done anything that is like, all that that is really, really embarrassing. But it's totally possible. It's totally possible to get up there and be embarrassed, and you don't want that because it's like mortifying, So so I always make sure. I always say with people doing those kind of shows, when I'm talking to people, I was like, you just have to be as prepared as you possibly can be, and let the chips fall where they may.
That actually kind of moves me into something else I find is interesting. So you play downtown a lot. So you're like basically a Broadway player.
Yeah.
You do a lot of gigs. It's kind of like the same thing though. Like you have to be really good to like step in and like read charts and like, know your shit and like know all these different songs. How long have you been playing in that environment?
Well, I toured. I joined a Hillbilly Casino that I was in 05.
Yeah.
And then,
oh my God, great band. Dan showed them to me and I was like, this is freaking awesome.
Totally. And I'm still great friends with them, still work with them. You know what I mean? And they're still out playing, doing awesome. And so, and then...
What a great name, too. Hillbilly Casino.
Oh, yeah, that's Nick. Came up with that. And like, who's a singer? It's my boy,
Awesome.
Shouts out to everybody, all of them. And it's... and Nick and I are actually part of a thing called the Rockabilly Roundup.
I love
and
that.
And the next one is second to last Thursday. I think it's March. I should look at my phone. March 24th. It's a Thursday. May 24th. Which we're just like it's like a rockabilly jam type thing where people are invited to sit in and stuff. So we do that at Eastside Bowl, which is one of my favorite venues in town with Chark, who's run it, who used to be involved in Mercy Lounge and who is really helped out Hillbilly Casino a lot. He gives us the opportunity to play there.
That's so cool.
And do that. And it's really, I really, really love it because I love that music and that's so anyway, but kind of getting back to what we're doing, and then I played in Hillbilly Casino from 2005 to 2012. Then from 2012 to late 2015, early 16, I played for Jason Michael Carroll. Another awesome part of my playing. Then after that, I played for a country singer named Rick Monroe for a little bit. For a while, it was awesome. And then I did other things too. And then I got the gig playing with a band called Continental, which is out of Boston. And which is the original person by the name of Rick Barton. I love Boston rock and roll, like not even with Aerosmith and the Cars, but also other like the history of punk rock in that city is something that I love. And so, and Rick has been involved in that forever. He was in a band with his brother. Dave, who actually is a Nashville part-time resident now, but a songwriter here in town, who's moved here, who's awesome.
Super cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. Like a lot of people gravitate here, because it's special.
Yep.
It really is. And so anyway, but Rick was also the original guitar player for Dropkick Murphys.
Oh, nice.
And one of my all-time favorite bands. And so I from 2016 to 2019, later part of 2018, I did a number of tours with them. And there was I described that music as like a punk rock version of the Stones. It's kind of the best way, but it's very unique and interesting arrangements of songs and great songwriting, but kind of like just different parts than, so really musically, really would be difficult drumming wise sometimes. But
sure.
I did a bunch of U.S. tours with them, and I got to go to Europe with them for 1 month-long European tour, and then in 2018 we went to Europe for 10 weeks. And
it sounds like so much fun.
Yeah, it was awesome, and it's and the touring was great too. Like it was just awesome. And then we've done a bunch of recordings out on one that was a label called Rusty Knuckles, put out some stuff, and then another one.
What a fun sounding label.
Oh yeah, and then another one, Rumbar Records. It's like an underground Boston record label, put out a recent EP by the band. Yada yada yada. So that's make a long story short. And then in 2019, I decided in the middle of summer, I wanted to. Just focus on playing in town. Because I've been Hillbilly Casino. We did every other Friday at Layla's, and I played with my buddy Richie Scholl for a while downtown. And so I was familiar with the playing environment, but I really wanted to. When I got back being gone. When I went and did that 10-week run, I was also in Geneva for a little bit before. I was gone for almost 3 months. You know what I mean? And so it's when I got back from that
for one tour.
Yeah, for one tour with some some family friend stuff. My buddy Jay Gelati, ex Mental Picture, was in Mental Picture. I went to his wedding and was in his wedding, and then we went to. It was awesome, and but that was before that tour, and so I was gone for a. I was gone for a long time. And when I got back, and then later on, a little whiles later, I decided I just wanted to focus on playing in town, and I love playing in downtown Nashville. It's not for everybody. You know what I mean? Like tomorrow, I'm going to be drumming for 8 hours.
Are you serious?
And then I'm just doing one on Sunday. As of now, sometimes I'll pick up late things, but I'm just going to be drumming for 4 on Sunday. And then sometimes I'll drum for 12 hours. I've never done what's called a quad, where you do 4 gigs in a day, but I've done a lot of triples, where you drum for 12 hours.
So what is like a typical shift for?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's typically then a half-hour setup, 3.5 hours of playing, but a 4-hour time slot.
That makes sense. So yeah, if you're doing more than that, wow. Triples.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
There's a lot of times too with that too. This especially happened after the pandemic. It's very. It doesn't happen so much now, but after the pandemic, especially, it was very common for me to get on stage, have to play music for 3.5 hours with 3 or 4 individuals that I've literally never seen before in my life.
Oh my God.
And you just do it because everybody if you know the songs,
that's all
and you're
that
able
matters.
to just do it, and everybody's a good player, you just do it.
Yeah.
And then you end up being buddies. You know, like it's never gone bad. You know what I mean? It's always end up being something that sometimes it's had some really cool musical moments that I did not see coming. You know, because sometimes maybe the guitar player will be incredible or something, or you know what I mean? And then so we'll play something that really focuses on guitar, and the guitar player will just rip and we'll improvise, and but a lot of it is based around party songs, which I don't mind playing at all. But it's you definitely have to keep you on your toes. You know,
totally.
And it's as far as with playing downtown, I mean, like I also like how hard the work is.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like
absolutely.
I'm also paid fairly. You know what I mean? So I think the money works out good, and I think it's playing for that, navigating the whole thing is, I think, really healthy through the challenge of it. You know, and it's just I think a lot of things. It's physically also very demanding too.
So, dude, like when you meet these guys, whatever that you're saying, you met them in the pandemic, like they lead to other relationships and other opportunities, probably. Now, are these guys? Do they record with you? Because I know, like, let's talk about your studio, man, like Studio D, and like talk about what's going on there. In you were just talking about doing something with Ronnie, right?
Oh yeah,
Let's talk about
Ronnie
Studio
from
D.
Hillbilly Casino. He's a fantastic guitar player, bass player. We're making a record. I don't want to. He's kind of keeping under wraps what it was just in kind of a fun kind of way about what the concept of the record is going to be. But it's fun, and we're recording that now. And I also and it's really excited about it. I also with my buddy Eric, he's known as Eric 7 here in town. I've known him through punk rock forever. We've been friends for a long time. He and I made an EP last year that I'm so proud of. I'm so proud of it. It was like he just hit me up. I was at the dog park with my dogs last May, and he said he had these tunes. Short and long is, and then we recorded them, and I mixed them, and we put our heart and soul into it. And it's the name of the project is called No Concern.
Nice.
It's Eric's, all of his tunes. I just played drums, engineered it, and mixed it, and we had it mastered.
Dude, is there video? Is there video of it at all?
No, there's no video.
No
it's just
video.
all,
You didn't have it on YouTube as a song, like with a picture.
None of that yet. It's on all the streaming services. But
I was going to say, I was going to import
cool
it, man. Maybe put it into this actual video podcast thing, man. It's like, you should get like your iMovie out, man. Make a picture and whatever. And
I'll send you some stuff for sure.
Yeah, man,
totally.
definitely.
Yep. Always thinking. Thinking.
Totally. Because we just we have different things also going on in life, but we did. We're going to do another one too. We're going to start it soon. So we musically, as far as punk rock, we were on the exact same page. It's like it was actually good. I think that there wasn't anybody else involved in it because he and I like the same stuff. So there's no discussions or no need for a discussion about how we thought things should sound. Like, it's very reminiscent of like 90s Southern California melodic punk rock. You know what I mean?
Very
like,
cool.
Like Face to Face, Pennywise, like just a lot of bands along those lines that we both love and we know exactly how we want it to sound. So there was no discussions about parts. There's definitely no arguments, so we made it, and I am very, very proud of it. It's definitely I love my drumming on it.
Dude, you got to make a video, man, with that pointer stick with some of these songs and give it to me. Put it on YouTube, man. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
That's a good point that you just made right there. That's a good point. No, I'll do that. I'll get that to you.
Just for that little segue you just did right there, that's why you're here, too.
Is when I joined Hillbilly Casino, I put an ad in the Nashville Scene. I quit my job at the library. I was working for the public library in downtown Nashville. I had a great job I worked at the Davis Kid Booksellers for a year and a half when I moved here to town. Then I worked for 4 years for the public library. Both were awesome jobs, but I wanted to drum for my job. So I left the library, and then I put an ad in the Nashville Scene at the time in the classified saying I'm a drummer. I was 28 at the time, so at 28, and I had to put up a little website. Nick from Hillbilly Casino saw it. He called me, and then he dropped off some CDs of the music. And I didn't know. I just knew about rockabilly through punk rock. I didn't know. I didn't know about the whole scene. It's a cool culture. I didn't really know about it. I just knew like the key players, and just through punk rock because they're pretty close. But he dropped off the CDs of his old band from Indiana called the Blue Moon Boys of songs that we would be doing, and I thought it was so good. I instantly was like, I want to play that, And so I joined the band, and then we started the band in the middle of summer, and also I was the youngest person in the band. Ronnie, the guitar player, had just gotten the gig playing upright bass for Brian Setzer, who ended up helping us out a ton.
Oh, hell yes.
And Jeff, the bass player, had just left BR549, and Nick had been in the Blue Moon Boy. Like these all were way more experienced players than me, and I really wanted to play with them. And then we did. And when I auditioned for the band, it was at Mercy Lounge at a rockabilly night, and Dave Rowe, who obviously who's passed away now, but was a seminal, probably the most renowned upright bass player. He played for Johnny Cash for the last 13 years of his life. He was the bass player on the audition, and I'm like completely green and nervous and all the different things. So, but it worked out, and I got the gig with them in about middle part of 2005, and then right in October of this is sort of leads up to the thing about the studio. In October of 2005, my mom passed away, and so I was brand new to this band. I'm dealing with a lot, I'm just grieving, and those guys in that band were unbelievable in how they
bless you, babe.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Oh no, totally, no problem. Those guys in that band were unbelievable in how they handled it. Like they were completely. And they knew me. We all got along really well. We played a bunch of gigs together, but I'd only been in the band for a few months.
Sure.
And the fact that happened, they did everything that they could to accommodate everything that I needed to do. And the band had really started working that whole time. And then when I went away, Jerry Rowe, who's Dave Rowe's son, who is a phenomenal drummer, done all kinds of session work, and he's incredible. He covered my gigs while I was dealing with the things at home that I had to deal with my mom. But the guys in Hillbilly Casino were calling me and checking on me. You know what I mean? Like it was when I look back on it, I get emotional thinking about it. It was really touching how they were. And so not only musically and personality wise did we get along, but I just knew they were good people. You know what I mean? Like it's the same thing with talking about the Carcos and the Farleys, our experience with them early on, and them being cordial with my mom, and being and focusing on on their craft, and that was what's most important. Like just being around good people that you're in the right spot. When you're around those kind of people, you're in the right place.
I was just thinking that you're very fortunate to have that.
Shucks too, man. Thanks, man.
Yeah, no, seriously though, you're fortunate to have that because Andrew, not everybody has an experience like that. People will get into weird headsets or mind frames, and that's cool when they're in a band or whatever. They think it's got to be a certain way, and it's kind of toxic or kind of weird.
Totally, there was nothing toxic at all about
That's
it.
awesome.
You know what I mean?
So
Like
cool.
it was really very, very cool. And it was my introduction to playing music full time.
Oh,
like,
that's great.
It was very, very, and then one thing that was kind of little thing after that too, is that we got in, I got back from taking care of the things back in Geneva with my mom, and we played with the Reverend Horton Heat in Louisville, and that's the first time I played a gig like that with like a headliner that I knew all about, and you know what I mean. Like I was wow, I'm playing with the Rev, you know what I mean? Like you know, and so and that was a very inspiring night for me too. And their drummer at the time, Scott Torilla, gave me let me talk his ear off about drums, and like gave me a T-shirt and stuff. I thought it was so cool, you know. And then so anyway, Hillbilly Casino eventually had to make a record. And so, but we were saving we were gigging a lot. We were saving all the money that we were making for gigs, paying ourselves. You know what I mean? You know, like we weren't making a ton of money, so we were paying ourselves. So what I did, and I don't recommend this, but I think it was awesome that I did it, is like I did not have a lot of money, and Karen was starting her business. Karen wasn't making money. You know what I mean? And like we were, you know, like not only, but this is kind of like another. What I did is I got approved for a credit card for $4,000 that I should have probably not even been approved for, you know? And I just bought studio gear. I didn't know what I was doing at all. I just went out and bought, like, DA, you'll appreciate this. I bought a Personas 8-channel interface. I bought an iMac G5. I bought a $400 Shure mic pack. I bought a drum mic pack. I bought an 8kg cheap condenser. And then we borrowed gear, and people taught us how to do things, and that's how we made our first record. And so,
right on, man.
Very DIY.
So my studio just comes out of purely us needing to make a record early on, and I was just like, I'm just going to do it. And so I just got approved for this credit card, maxed it out, and then bought some, you know, $4,000 worth of gear. And that's along with borrowing. And then we had friends like our buddy Mark Robertson. Shouts out to Mark. He helped us out, loaned us gear, and helped us out. He was very, very experienced, playing in the band called the Legendary Shack Shakers at the time, and he helped us out a ton. And so with that, and then I kind of got into it, and that first record was a success. I'm like, I was even thinking about it. We probably, I'll bet, by the time I'm guessing on this, but I don't think I'm exaggerating. I think by the time I was in the band over my next 6 years in the band, we probably sold 15 to 17,000 copies of that record. You know what I mean? So it's like,
wow.
You know what I mean?
Something
like,
you put together yourselves.
Yeah, that
and
was
made
including
that happen?
iTunes,
Absolutely.
which at the time, you know what I mean? So it was cool. We had a guy named Cole Klosser that did really cool cover art for us. Like the band really had a lot of momentum. And
That's
then,
great.
And then in the later part of 06, because Ronnie was also played for Brian Setzer, Brian took us out for a leg of his, he asked us to do as many dates as we wanted, but to do his, the Brian Setzer Orchestra Christmas tour.
Oh, nice.
So the Hillbilly Casino started in 05. Then by the end of 06, we had our first record out, and then we're going on tour with Brian Setzer, and we got to play the Ryman, we got to play the House of Blues in Chicago, we got to play the Universal Amphitheater in Hollywood, we got to play the State Theater in Detroit, we got to, you know what I mean, do all these cool gigs.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, it was crazy awesome. Like that kind of stuff just doesn't really happen, you know. And then we were a completely independent band, you know, and then we put out 3 more records, did a Christmas record. We did a lot of work here with the Christmas programming at Opryland. Opryland all helped keep us afloat because one thing that's cool about rockabilly is you can play. You can play punk rock, you can do all these kind of things, and then you can also do, especially in Nashville, you can play for tourists because they want to hear Elvis and Johnny Cash and Carl Perkins, and you know. So
Think about that.
We were able to do. So we had a regular gig at Layla's. We played at Opryland, and then I remember one month we opened for David Allan Coe and Rancid in the same month.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean? Because we were able to do all this stuff. It was cool.
That's crazy.
It was so cool, and we had so much momentum. And I really look back on that time in my life very, very fondly, and I'm just thrilled that I'm still working with the guys
and still like hanging out with them and talking to them and keeping in contact.
Oh, and Ronnie and I are making a record right now. Nick and I are part of a
awesome.
rockabilly night at Eastside Bowl that happens about every 5-6 weeks,
Yeah,
and
I know.
I'm just thrilled about it. It's so cool.
Do you have any bands that like you're a fan of right now? Like that really stick out to you? Because the music industry's changed so much. So it's like you have such an eclectic background, but you love punk and you love rockabilly. Is there anything on your radar that maybe people don't know about?
Oh, that's so much. Oh yeah, I'm a dork about about this kind of, you know what I mean? Like, oh man, just even off the like.
Give us your top 3 bands that you think people should know about.
Oh man, it's like I just listen to and I digest so much music. There's a band called Japan Droids that haven't been active in a few years, but that I just absolutely their record Celebration Rock that came out in 2012, and they put out another record and a live record since then is one of my favorite records of all time.
That's cool.
Yeah, totally. Oh man, there's Frank Turner. There's a band called We Were Sharks that I think is great.
I've heard of them.
There's so much.
Well, that was 3 of them, though, right? You just
did I just say 3? I'm not even counting because I'm just like trying to rack my brain because I just like live in this world so much.
There are so many cool things that you've done before. What's the next thing for you on the horizon? You have this record with Ronnie
Crutcher,
that you're working on right now, and then you're playing gigs downtown. Is there anything else you want people to know?
Yeah, I definitely want to be playing more rockabilly and traditional country.
Cool, that's badass.
I'm going to be doing. Oh yeah, no, I love playing that music. It's a part of who I am. But thankfully, there was another one of my goals for this year was to just play more rockabilly, and thankfully, I've been able to play a couple Honky Tonk Tuesdays at the American Legion Post out in 82, out in East Nashville, which is kind of like
cool.
one of the main spots in town for that, and it's like. I really have been enjoying it a lot, so that's been something great. And I just want to, definitely keep on playing downtown. Not only like that's where I make my money, but but I also really like it down there. Like a lot of people, I mean, we could have this conversation. A lot of people don't like Karen. Downtown Nashville isn't really her thing. Karen likes to chill, whereas I'm like
downtown Nashville is not chill.
I went. Okay, this is how I roll. All right, I went out back in October. Like this is what I do for fun. Back in October, I flew out to Vegas, and I in the morning I got out to Vegas 7:30 in the morning. I went to the Punk Rock Museum, which I wanted to go to since it would open last year, but I really wanted to get to it, so I went to the Punk Rock Museum, and then that night I went and saw U2 at the Sphere. Then I woke up the next day and I went to the When We Were Young Festival, which is a punk rock festival where I saw Blink-182, Green Day, Good Charlotte, Sum 41, Rise Against, like all kinds of bands. Oh, Gym Class Heroes from Geneva, like all kinds of stuff. You know what I mean? And then I flew out at 5 a.m. I went back to my hotel, took a shower, went to the airport, flew out at 5 a.m. and I was back in town for a 6 p.m. gig.
Oh my God!
And like that's just how I do it.
Tell us the name of the Rockabilly night that you guys have.
Oh yeah, it's called the Rockabilly Roundup.
The Rockabilly
Roundup. It's a Thursday at Eastside Bowl. About every 5-6 Thursdays. You can see it on about 5 or 6 weeks apart.
That's awesome.
It's Nick Roulette's Rockabilly Roundup. And
Nick Roulette.
Awesome.
Cool.
Okay, keep an eye out for that, guys. And the next thing I was going to ask you is what is something that you want people, maybe young musicians, to really know about?
Yeah,
I feel like you're a guy for that.
There's kind of like the standard things, like get an understanding of how the money works, all those kind of things, But I always say with this town, and like I say, I joke that I should work for the Chamber of Commerce in Nashville because I like it so much. You know what I mean? I'm not even kidding. This place is the right spot for me to be at. It really is. And so. But I always say the one thing that I say to when I meet drummers in town, you know what I mean? I try to like talk about how the money works and not in a way that's like, definitely don't want to bum people out. You know what I mean? But I think it also doesn't serve anybody if they have unrealistic expectations about how money works. When you're a sideman doing what I'm doing, you're not going to get rich off doing it. You know what I mean? Like the way that you get rich in music, just like a lot of things, is owning things. If you're the artist and you own it, or like you own the song, or you own your publishing company, or you own whatever, you know what I mean? Like absolutely. That's how the money works. But you can definitely make a good living. You could definitely have absolutely have a high quality of life. Mm-hmm. If you're into it, And so I try to say, always treat other people how you want to be treated. Always try to be as self-aware as you can, and which involves like how you treat people, your attitude, always, and then always
show up,
and then always play your best, and it kind of like leads me to something else. And I think the people that do that, one thing that is so cool about being here and being a musician here is that you're around a lot of people a lot of the time that are accomplishing their goals. You know what I mean? That are, living their dreams to a certain extent. That's always a kind of a more of a different, but accomplishing their goals, like very realistically. You know what I mean? Like, and that's when you're downtown and you're seeing the environment that's down there. A lot of people are down there that are working hard, that are accomplishing their goals, and they are doing it. And this city is very, very conducive if people want to work hard enough, are in it for the right reasons, to really accomplish their goals and have a pretty cool life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's just,
right.
I just think that's the nature of this town. And so, but part of the ways that you get there, I think are the three biggest pieces of advice that I would say are always play your best, try to be as self-aware as possible, and always treat other people how you want to be treated. And you got to live it. You know what I mean? Like, and you have to be patient. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and not get too down on yourself, which is, like, I'm definitely not wired for patience, but I've had to learn to be it and to roll with it.
And it happens with it. I think I agree with everything you say. You can do huge things. And those are probably the top things, to go with. Treat people, show how you show up, be aware, and then give them your best. I love that. I just really want to thank you for taking the time to come here today. You have so much knowledge behind you. You have so many cool things that you fucking do between playing and then having your studio and then always creating, always learning new music. You're just such a wonderful person to have on the show.
Top-notch dude, man.
Thanks.
Seriously.
No, I appreciate both of you. I appreciate both of you a lot.
No,
and
for real.
I really am glad that I was able to come here and do this.
Thanks
this
for
is cool.
doing it with us.
I mean,
This has been
if
amazing.
If the 15-year-old could see me now, right here with Carcos.
Oh my God, dude, cut it out, man.
I was probably listening to Carcos when I was 15, envisioning that.
God,
You know what I mean?
man, stop it.
Yeah, no, but this has really been cool. It's been a really treat for me to do. It's like ever since we talked about it, I've been looking forward to it. And
Good.
so I
love that.
I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, we're going to keep an eye out for the show. Nick
Nick Roulette's Rockabilly Roundup.
Nick Roulette's Rockabilly Roundup. We're going to keep a look out for that new record that you're going to have coming out.
With Ronnie Crutcher.
Ronnie Crutcher. And thanks for
And I have
coming on
the No
show.
Concern, the punk rock EP that we're also going to get started on the next one. And the last one we just put out in December.
Thank you.
It was
the No Concern one. And I love that name.
Awesome.
But cheers. Thank you for coming on the show.
Cheers. Yeah, thanks you guys.
Awesome.
This is awesome.
All right. We'll talk to you
Wonderful.
soon.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, you've just watched or listened to another episode of Nashville on the Rocks. If you like what we do, make sure you hit the subscribe button. And don't forget to follow us on all of our socials and on your favorite podcast streaming apps. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.